Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today I'm trying to increase my frequency of posting on YouTube, and to do that I have decided to post again during the middle of the week today, and I would like to continue on what we've been talking before, but just as usual come from a different point of view. Coming from a different point of view just keeps it fresh. I do not like to repeat things a lot in that sense. So the reason for that is, like, every time you come fresh and you tell yourself not to repeat what has already been done or been said, then you have to look at the fact again to make sure that you are re-observing it, so as to say. And when you're re-observing it, there's a beauty in it, and it keeps it fresh. So today I would like to touch on the topic of what happens when the mind is very full of things. So we have been talking about how the mind is behaving in terms of its patterns, and in terms of the flow of knowledge, for example, and how that flow of knowledge via thought is connected to attention or inattention. So today I would just say it from a more poetic way of how a saint would say, and that is that when a mind is too full, when a mind is very full of things, of ideas, concepts, images, then this kind of mind becomes very poor. Poor in the sense very shallow. Let's see how it is. When the mind is full of things all the time, let's say, when the mind is not taking a break from itself, then all that information, all those ideas, all those concepts, whatever is floating in the mind, are always affecting the present observation. So whatever you're observing, the mind is judging it using what is the content inside the mind, and this judgment is putting things into what's desirable and what's to be avoided. Okay? Now, what's to be avoided gets thrown out, because it's not pleasant, it's not pleasurable. But what is to be desired then creates new desires regarding the object of observation. Okay? For example, you see 20 to 30 things in 1 hour, for example, and your mind has been very full during that hour. Then out of those 20 to 30 things, the mind will already start to classify, this is this is that, this is nice, this is not nice. And all the things, let's say, out of those 20 to 30 things, 15 things were found to be desirable. Okay? Then, because they were desirable, the mind will start to create desires to have them someday. If whatever is possible to have straight away can be then it tries to have it straight away. But for things that cannot have straight away, it tries to create desires of the future. Okay? So what I'm trying to show here from this example is that Because the mind is very full, its ability of classification becomes very strong. And because it classifies a lot, everything, a lot of stuff becomes in the category of being desired. And because a lot of stuff becomes desirable, the mind ends up desiring it. And this state of immense desires, okay, I want to have this, I want to have that, and this, is actually what I'm naming, or I'm trying to term as being poor. Because the mind is not satisfied with what it has, not out of a blank and empty satisfaction that you learn from a book, but actually, or let's put it like this, when the mind observes this pattern of excessive desiring for no reason, just because it's full of stuff, it is desiring a lot of other stuff, okay? Because you are desiring on basis of what you already know. You see something, you see, and you put it in a category of being nice for you, for example, and then the mind naturally starts to think, what if I have this thing? Can I have it right now? Or can I have it in the future? And then that starts the cycle of desire. So if a lot of stuff is floating in your mind all the time, then all that stuff is trying to create loads of desires based on your observation of your surrounding. Okay? If the mind is very empty, okay, and you can experiment with it. When the mind is empty, it is not desiring so much. It is just observing during that time. And when it's observing, it is being satisfied by the act of observation itself. So it doesn't have to desire something else to be satisfied. But when the mind is full of things which are just jumping and running through, then the act of observation is disturbed tremendously, because the energy which is to be used for observation gets consumed by the movement of thought, the movement in the mind. And because of that, the mind becomes unsatisfied. And hence, the natural result of that is creation of desires. So, a full mind ends up being very poor, ends up behaving very poor. And what's the proof that it is very poor? Is because it's asking a lot all the time. It's asking this, it's asking that. And a poor person asks a lot because he or she doesn't have. So, in that sense, a mind which is very full is actually on the way to become very poor, inherently. So, giving breaks to your mind, giving rest to your mind becomes highly, highly, highly important. Because the more you have this kind of break or rest from the movement of thought, you are giving the mind enough energy to observe. And observation is like a food for mind. I know it sounds weird, maybe not to all who have gone into it, they might know it, but who haven't gone into it might feel it something new or something that they haven't checked on. So I would request you to check it, that when a mind is quietly observing, that observation itself is highly satisfactory. And because it's highly satisfactory, there is no need to create desires at that moment. So an empty mind is not poor, because it's not asking anything. And something or someone who already has doesn't want anything because there is already abundance with you. So in the field of the mind, the game is a little opposite. When you have a lot in the mind ends up being poor. But when you have very less in the mind, at that time, in those moments, the mind is very rich. Rich in the sense non-desiring, because it is highly satisfied or highly feeling content with the action of observation itself. Then living is so satisfactory that no other thing is needed. Of course, I'm not saying it in a stupid way that you will not want water or food. In that sense, the body will tell you when you are feeling thirsty that please have water. But what I'm trying to say is that observation or living will become so satisfactory that the mind will not desire a lot. So please try it. Please try to observe it, that when your mind is very full, it starts to create this chaos. And because it starts to create a chaos, it starts desiring, first of all, calmness, peace. That's the first desire. How do I end my chaos? And that chaos eventually also ends up picking a few things from the observation and adding them to the list of desires. So a desiring mind is a poor mind, okay? And a mind which is not desiring, which is just satisfied with itself, satisfied by its own existence, is a rich mind, I would say, in that sense. So please try it, and you would see with your own experimentation that this is how it actually goes on or goes through. So if you have any other questions regarding it, then please post it in the comments, and I would try to keep the videos coming more often. Instead of one video a week, I would try to make it 2, maybe even 3. So let's see how it goes. But thanks again for listening, and have a beautiful day or evening or week.